Hello and welcome to your favorite podcast, bringing you the most thoughtfully infused and absurdity-laced horror film commentary around. It's the Fear of God. If you like what you hear, Nathan's raspy voice notwithstanding, you can find all your favorite foggy paraphernalia at thefearofgodpodcast.com. Things like merch and episode archives and links to our Discord channel and how to become a patron. Become a patron! Every week here in the FoG, we explore what scares us to find what saves us. And who is this we I speak of? Why, it's me, one of your hosts, Nathan Rouse.
Nathan Rouse, go to sleep. Oh, wait. No.
Womp, womp, womp.
I'm your other host, Reed Lackey. Hello. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, Reed, what is the weather?
It is 38 degrees and an 87% chance of rain.
Good. Well, not the rain, I guess, whatever. You know what, Reed? This week, we are joined by top Thogger and Ghoul Scout troop leader, Vera Goudie. Vera, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. Can I get that temperature in Celsius, please?
Yeah, we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
They've got
temperature in Celsius, 38 degrees would be like pretty much close to zero.
Cold.
Yeah. It'd be like right there. So
that'd be quite cold. Happy New Year, Vera. Happy New Year, Reed.
Hey!
Happy New Year,
I know we sort of did that last week and so on and so forth, but it's
all of
as
that.
of us recording right now, it's still not a week into the year, so we can still legitimately say that.
That is true.
So on last week's episode, Reed and I had a grand time welcoming in the new year, and today we are launching our annual Look Back series, this year titled 2025 Still Alive, where we spotlight films from the previous year. And for this episode, like Allison Brie and Dave Franco in some of today's coverage, we'll be tethering two films together for one FoG conversation. Those two films are, yes, the Brie and Franco body horror film Together, and the AI thriller Companion, featuring Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. Y'all want to know something fun, guys?
I do.
Always.
So listeners are like, we just listened to Nathan and Reed last week, and he sounded okay. I actually sounded pretty okay until, what is today? Tuesday, until about 2 nights ago, when this, a longer story for another day, but my wife and I were out of town. We were in the Caribbean. We went to this restaurant where they had a piano bar, and yes, the pianist did ask me to join him. I didn't just, elbow my way to the microphone, but
that part's not on camera. We don't know that for sure.
Sure, well,
that's right.
Okay, but you trust me largely, and I'm telling you, he said, come on up. Actually, what happened, now that you've called me out on it, what happened is we were in a group of about 18, and he was like, hey, who wants to come up? Who wants to come up and help me on this one? Nobody did it. And you know what? Believe it or not, I get most of my, kind of like performer energy out on this show. So I don't go out in the rest of the world and just be like, let me volunteer for every call to action, from a performance standpoint. So I did not put myself out there. And then they were like, Nathan. It was a peer group, a work group. And so I said, sure, fine. I'm not really a singer, but I've got soul. And so I went up there and he said, okay, you're going to help me out with this one. And it was, what is it? What's the name of the song?
Back?
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
It was, I Want It That Way.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. So belted that one out. Then he asked me to hang out. And I also did Baby Got Back, of course, just that evergreen title. And also did Sweet Caroline.
My God.
By Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, I was busy entertaining the masses in the Bahamas 2 nights ago. So my voice is a little raspy. Forgive me, everyone. I'm sure it'll be back to normal next week, unless another
more karaoke.
Just get booked
gig
again.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Second career.
So nonetheless, I'm happy to see the two of you. I'm happy to be back in the FoG. Reed, are we doing? We're doing a thing. Yeah.
You know what? Yes. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to alert you that as of this recording, we are coming into 2026 just real fast. It is already upon us. And we don't even have the entirety of our look back coverage set out. So I can't even express to you all of the different things we're going to be covering. But one thing I can tell you that we're going to be doing is starting next week, we are going to be going for the patrons exclusively. We're going to be going episode by episode through the most recently released global phenomenon known as Stranger Things 5. So starting next week, as part of our hashtag TV guideposts, like we do when we cover TV shows, we will be starting with episode 1 of the new season, doing a deeper dive, sharing all of our thoughts and feels about it, marching all the way up to, at the conclusion of this little look back series, an entire conversation around Stranger Things 5 and ostensibly around Stranger Things as a whole, because sadly, it is now finished. It's done.
Or is it?
You know, well, I don't conform to all of the theories. Yes, exactly.
Conformity gate.
There it is. No. There it is. So yes, but what we will do right
edit
now.
That out.
What? Yes, exactly.
I said companion, edit that out.
Oh, the AI. So what we will do right now, though, before we get into the double feature that is today's primary content, is we are going to give the patrons a little preemptive treat, if you will, and we three are just going to unpack our broad, generalized feelings about Stranger Things 5 rather briefly, but very, very exclusively. And so we will do that right now.
To the Patron Mobile.
So about these movies, before we get into our double feature for today, listeners, if you are not already a patron, then I want to encourage you again. We just had a little brisk conversation about our feelings about Stranger Things 5, specifically the finale, but also a few notes about the season as a whole and whether we felt they stuck the landing. So if you want to hear all of our preliminary thoughts on that, and if you want to march with us through season 5 as we do over the course of the next 7 to 8 weeks or so, we will be starting next week with a deep dive onto episode 1 of season 5. So become a patron, even if only for that brief period of time, to check it out, and we'd love to have you. But back to these movies specifically. So these films do not have any sort of production or crew tether or connection together. But I will take the blame for the additional homework or the compliments, if you both enjoyed it, to basically say, like, I felt like talking about either of these films would cover comparable ground, not identical ground, but comparable ground, because of the things that they're interested in. And so as a result, I do think that they are two very interesting films, both dealing very directly and overtly with their metaphors, with certain complexities about relationships. And I thought it would be interesting to put them in dialogue with each other. So again, we are talking about the films Companion, both of these from 2025. The film Companion, which was written and directed by Drew Hancock, and Together, which was written and directed by Michael Shanks. Both of them deal in the horror space. Companion is arguably maybe a little bit more of a thriller, but both are in the horror space, as it were, and both deal, as I said, overtly with some metaphors. But that's enough preamble for me. Let us talk about them in dialogue as we do. We can focus on any individual one if we want to. But Vera, I'm going to go to you first. I don't know if you had seen, I can't remember if you had seen these before. So what was your experience of Companion and Together? Talk about it both at your leisure.
Talk about them together.
There it is.
I had not seen either. And I really enjoyed both of them. I feel like I was watching, especially Companion, the humor in Companion, the little jokes, the little asides. I was like, this was for sure written by like young Gen X or elder millennial, because this humor is perfectly matched to my own. And the same thing with Together. A lot of like the dark humor and satire of it, and obviously the musical choices. are so up my alley, and I really, really enjoyed watching both of them. The experience of watching both of them and the movies themselves.
That's awesome. I must shout out your wearing your Spice Girl attire right now.
Spice
That is
Mice.
Spice Mice. Sorry, Spice Mice. Must get it
Wow.
right. But yeah,
It's a
that
piece
was
of
pretty
Canadiana.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you responded to them that way. I was kind of excited and invigorated when I found out you had not seen them when we invited you on the show, and so was curious to hear your thought, and I'm eager to dive into the both of them as well. Nathan, I don't recall, so I will let you. I will try not to steal your thunder and go ahead and say, yeah, what was your experience with these two films? Were these first viewings? What do you think about them?
So I had actually seen both in the theater. And I think both times I just kind of went by myself because it was the new thing that was out and I had a couple hours. And first viewings, I liked Companion a lot. Vera, to your note, quite funny in places. I was just scanning my notes, and when Eli's wrestling for the gun, he says, "This isn't personal. You know I'm an ally." So just
Yes.
great little bits like that. And together, when I saw it together for the first time, I mean, the body horror stuff is exceptional, actually. It's quite good and quite gross.
Mm-hmm.
But I struggled to appreciate it because I felt like the metaphor was just baldly on the nose. I mean, by the time it's over, in ways that I couldn't decide, is this shallow? Am I being too critical? So I wasn't really sure. So both of these viewings were second timers. This viewing of Companion I did watch together. And then she did not watch together. No, thank you. And on these rewatches, y'all may push back at this, and that's okay. We all are allowed our thoughts.
Yeah.
I like Companion a lot. I think it's a little thin on inertia. I'm sorry, on momentum. There are parts that I just feel like I don't know that the concept is great. It's a well executed. It's well cast. It's just there's moments where I'm like, I don't feel the energy that I think the movie wants me to feel, and that wasn't just because I was tired. That hit me subconsciously the first viewing, and it was very present for this second one. And on the flip side, together, I won't right now. This conversation may kind of help on this front. I don't know, but I did find knowing going in how I felt about the first viewing of Together, I was a little more taken in by it this time around. I mean, the two of them are great. The actual horror elements are really fantastically rendered, and it is pretty on the nose, but I kind of didn't mind that this time around. So yeah, I like both of them, and they don't top my list for 2025, but it makes sense why we're talking about them now because one is very well executed and Together, though I'm not sure about its box office returns, and Companion did pretty well and has made a number of lists. So yeah, thankful to be hanging out with you guys and chatting them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I adore both of these films for different reasons. I think my entertainment enjoyment pivots a bit more towards Companion, and my heartbeat of interest pivots a bit more towards Together. Like, in Companion is more the film that I would put on if I'm like, yeah, I just kind of want to enjoy a fun, plot twisty kind of thriller that has some ideas that are clearly on its mind. And Together is the film that, if I do want to sort of do a bit more contemplation, I'm probably going to pivot more towards that one. Interestingly enough, you mentioned all the horrific elements of it. My understanding is that most, not all, because some of that's impossible, but most of those were accomplished practically, to my shock. Like, particularly, yeah, the conjoining, which we're going to talk about eventually. A lot of those scenes did happen, like with them actually in prosthetic contraptions together. And they, of course, for speaking specifically about together, of course, Dave Franco and Alison Brie are married in real life. So that added a layer to what that story is exploring.
Yeah, because the chemistry is real.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And understandably, much of the tension. I mean, I don't know too much about their personal life. They conducted a number of interviews, some of which I've seen clips and snippets of, that said, you know, like, obviously they're playing characters, they're playing very different people from themselves, but the dynamic of marriage doesn't differ profoundly from, you know, iteration to iteration. There's probably something to relate to, something to point to say, okay, I kind of understand that feeling, that vulnerability, that uncertainty, that insecurity. And what's interesting to me is I do feel, especially on this rewatch, that Companion. What's interesting, Nathan, is my experience of it, I don't necessarily agree that it has no momentum. I even have in my notes here that even knowing the twists, I think Companion is exceptionally paced. That's for me. That's my opinion. I think it's pretty tightly constructed. You don't go more than 20 minutes before a new wrinkle to the plot emerges, which I find very propulsive for myself. But I did find Companion to be thinner thematically than I remembered it being on this viewing. I remembered being like, oh yeah, there's some interesting things to talk about here and talk about there. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, well, it kind of points at things, and it points at things I find interesting, versus Together, which the first time I watched it, and this is by no means a critique, but Nathan, you had shared your thoughts with me about Together, non-spoilery, but I knew the drumbeat of the metaphor is on the nose. So I was surprised, even with this second viewing, of how textured some of the script is, and how some of the things that it points to, it might feel on the nose, but I do think it points to a tension that's a little bit deeper and more complex than maybe it feels on the surface. Because I think, I'll say it this way, I think it's really easy to write off Companion as just, oh, it's about AI. Okay, I think it's about more than that. And I think it's really easy to write Together off as like, oh, well, it's about codependency. Okay, I think it's about much more than that. But both films deal, one of the things that stuck out to me, if we want to just go ahead and dive into it, for listeners who have no idea what these movies are about, Together is probably not going to be that big of a spoiler. Companion, we could spoil a lot. So if you're coming to these conversations, you know we're a spoiler-heavy show, but you're like, yeah, let me see what they have to say about Companion. We're going to ruin everything about Companion, because some of it thrives a little bit on you not knowing what's actually going on until you get to what's going on. But I will say that, like, I think both of the films deal in interesting ways to me with the concern of autonomy within a relationship. Can I still be me if I'm with you? Can I still be interested in what I'm interested in? Can I still have my own space, have my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own interests and priorities? Can I be me when I'm in this relationship with you? And both of those deal with that in very, very extreme ways, because we're dealing in the horror thriller territory. In Companion, we find out about 20 to 25 minutes in that Iris, who loves Josh and is devoted to Josh and is deeply committed to Josh and just wants to make Josh happy, we find out that is because, here we go, spoiler alert, she is a robot who has literally been rented by Josh
dun, dun,
to
small wonder
to serve exactly that function, and that's it. So that's the totality of her existence is wrapped up in that. And we come to find out that Josh is a fiend, which you could probably guess from the fact that it's a thriller.
Jack Quaid.
He's good at playing that kind of part. He's exceptionally good at it.
He's great.
But yeah, so we can get into more specific spoilers, but I'll leave it there for right now. Whereas Together is about this couple. They are not married. They are more than boyfriend girlfriend because they have had a long-standing living together relationship, but not married yet, not even engaged yet, as a very awkward opening scene solidifies for us. But they find themselves in a remote location that they've decided to go to together because Alison Brie's character is taking a new teaching position, and there is this strange spring of water that they drink from when they find themselves lost on a hike, and suddenly they find themselves being inexplicably drawn to each other, not only just like attracted to each other, but actually whatever it was in the water, something in the water wants them to become one body, like actually merge their bodies together, which makes for so much of the horrific element. So that's enough of the plot to let you go.
Minor plot correction.
Oh, yes,
just James, just Casey drinks from the spring. Alison Brie does not drink from the spring. She is offered water by Jamie later, which we can assume is probably water from the spring. That's why she's not affected.
Yep. Thank you for that note. Because because we have that horrendous scene where he's taking the shower and she drives away, and it does not go well for him.
No.
So, but I was interested.
Call him Casey, Vera?
So, did I say Casey? Oh my gosh. I've been doing this literally every single time I talk to Rob. I have been confusing second Affleck with second Franco.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was like, who are you talking about? That's not his
hilarious
name in real life or in the movie. I was like,
yes. My bad.
Wow.
It's Tim.
Not an Affleck.
Tim in the movie. Yes, exactly. But I've talked a lot now. I pivot to you guys. Like, I was interested in that question as a whole of, this nature of how do we, Scripture encourages obviously in marital relationships for people to become one flesh, and what does that mean? And how do you hold on to who you are in the midst of all of that? But I don't want to hog the conversation. I've talked a lot with plot setup, so I'm going to pivot to what you guys found interesting.
Vera?
I'm just looking at my notes. I don't know.
I want to pick up the baton on that a little bit. Specific note in the event, Vera, you've got something that pivots. But, it's interesting how, so companion, and I can totally get on board, Reed, with where you're going in terms of autonomy and that being a central idea. I feel like, which is not to take away from, kind of quote unquote the character of Iris in the film, but I feel like the specter of the AI aspect of it is what really preoccupied my attention. To the point that one of the things I wrote down was just how far we've come from when I watched this movie a mere 9 months ago or whenever it was.
Right.
It's pretty crazy. But picking up your autonomy baton and the note of the scriptural reference there, I feel like do not hear this as, man, Nathan's got his crap together and he's really hoity-toity right now. That's not where this is meant to be, but ironically, in 4 days from this recording will be my 22nd wedding anniversary. And so, this thank you. This idea is something I've thought about for 22 years practically, and even probably 10 preceding it theoretically, in terms of just what our experience of the church taught us about what to or not to expect in primarily monogamous, ultimately marital relationship. And I think what's fascinating is, and why it's so hard watching Tim and Millie together is, like, my heart breaks for him. Your heart breaks for both of them. You're like, daggone, man, I kind of get it totally on both sides of this. Like, he's feeling kind of incomplete and just doesn't know how to kind of get his shit together. And she's feeling kind of oppressed by that, and also wanting to encourage him towards, that sort of self-actualization a little bit. And I do find it interesting, like this was a hard path for me, from the standpoint that, this is a long preamble to get to some pretty practical thoughts on marriage here, but like, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 years ago, kind of came to this bump in the road of just being like, oh, I don't know that this, while scripture and Paul can poetically speak of one flesh, I think we've really kind of messed up a lot of relationships and marriages for making partners in marriage completers that I don't think is appropriate or correct, personally. I think, well, I'll speak for my household, you know, I feel like our marriage hit another level once, and I'll even claim it for myself, not so much that my wife had to learn it as much as maybe I did, but like the sort of realization that it's not the two of you are incomplete and then completion is wrought by your togetherness, as much as you're complete in yourself. And it's about complement and care, on a shared journey. I don't know if this distinction is making sense, but this idea that is, I think, probably misappropriately infused into the minds and hearts and, you know, kind of driving biologies of young, especially Christians, as they, you know, kind of move towards marriage, that like, oh, completion and oneness. And it's like, well, I don't know that I'm quite there anymore, which is a bigger statement than you were maybe asking for. But it's just interesting watching a movie that so directly deals with, you know, you use the word autonomy. I think agency is the wrong word, but just selfness, full selfness, right? Is kind of a way to think about it, and how, you know, I think probably a lot of marriages have failed because, especially Christian marriages, because they bought into a system of thought and belief that told them, well, this person is meant to fill every gap. And it's just like, no, that's not really healthy at all, actually. Anyway, I'm running off in the mouth a little bit, but from the standpoint of just your commentary about oneness and your reflections on together kind of inspired that a little bit in ways that I hadn't really given thought to yet in response to the movie.
I'm gonna make a statement that I hope will not sound too convoluted. It probably will. I have that habit. Marriage, to me, serves a tremendous utility for a number of different ways, but I think it will begin to crumble if you view it as purely utilitarian. In other words, if you view it as a thing to help you get somewhere, then it's going to become problematic. Even though it, like, in other words, because then you begin to see your partner as an object. Like, oh, well, you know, my partner, like to your point, my partner makes me happy. I'm unhappy without my partner. Okay, you can miss them deeply and not feel quite yourself when they're there. But if there's this part of you that's like, oh no, like it is actually, I am broken and busted without this person in my life. What I think will more often happen is that the broken and busted pieces, no human being can like bear up under the scrutiny of fixing all of your broken and busted pieces. Help, absolutely. Like, I'm not trying to say that it serves no function. That's what I mean by saying, like, there is a lot of just practical, emotional, mental, and spiritual lift that happens in a marriage. But I feel like when people begin to view a marriage as purely that, oh, well, this is serviceable to me, then yeah, that's what I think Companion kind of gets right, is because Companion provides the perspective that's like, I just need it's literally called that. I just need somebody to come alongside me and plug in these chasms that I have.
Meet all wants. Yeah.
Yes, basically meet all my wants, have no needs, by the way. That's in Companion, you know, like have no needs, meet all of my needs. And Companion does a really good job of identifying how off balance that is, and of how that immediately will become this power struggle for control. Now it's a heightened narrative, okay? Like I get it. It's not a prestige drama, it's a thriller narrative. But I do think it points to those kinds of aspects, that it's like, if you see the person that you want to spend your life with as purely, a role to fill for you, I think that's deeply, I'm pivoting away from the word problematic. I think it's unhealthy is what I keep coming back to. It's like,
Sure.
you should view the person you choose to share your life with as a whole person, with the fullness of their messiness, the fullness of their dreams, their desires, and the more, and maybe this is a yes-anding a lot of what you were saying, Nathan. In my view, health means that I bring my best self to everything that engages with my family, and I provide a support system for my wife to be her best self. That is, to me, the healthiest form of all of that. If I'm merely looking at it as like, oh, well, I'm going to be this and that for her, and she's going to be this and that for me, it begins to crumble.
I do love that I'm remembering the fact that the three of us talked about The Night House, which had its own share of strange adult relationship.
Loved that movie.
Drama. Yeah.
We were such fans.
I liked it.
Most of the time we get on here and Nathan's like, I didn't like it. Night House is like, this was cool, right? And Vera and I were like,
contrarian.
Well, I think you're hearing. No, we need to talk about this. Okay. We need some autonomy and conversation. No, I didn't say I don't like. Especially these two movies. They're 3 stars, and then we have conversations, and they become like 3.5 or 4 stars.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to, again, kind of following the personal track here, but to put a button on where my thoughts are is like, to be very clear, I can talk a big game about like, we're not supposed to be like, fully enmeshed, a la the monster at the end of Together. But I am so thankful that when my wife is low, I'm high, and when I'm high, she's low, and rarely are we the same, because no, it's good when you're both high, of course, but not in the medicinal sense. You see where I'm going.
We follow what you're saying.
I'm very thankful that in the emotional sense, we've said many times in our 22 years, like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that rarely are we both low at the same time. And that would be a really lame spot and hard spot to be in. But nonetheless, Vera, Reed and I have talked a lot about our need for marital counseling between the two of us. So how are you doing?
I wrote down a quote from, it's from Matthew Henry's, I think it's called The Examination of Biblical Truths, something along those lines, from 1706. And the quote is, the woman was made out of the rib of the side of Adam, not out of his head to rule over him, and not out of his feet to be trampled upon by him, but out of his side to be equal with him, under his arm to be protected, and near his heart to be beloved. And I think that that's something in companion, like Reed, you mentioned this, the word companion and not partner, which is what Alison Brie uses, by the way, also to distance herself from a more intimate label like boyfriend.
Right.
She really struggles with that because there's a fear of codependency. I think on behalf of Tim and Alison Brie's character, whose name I forget.
Millie. Yeah.
Millie. Thank you. Yes, because Tilly is their name at the end.
Yep.
And like a fear of losing one's identity. Like they're so protective, or I guess Tim is protective of the identity that he has, and he fears that like further enmeshing his life with Millie will further cause him to lose who he felt he should be. And in companion, he's not worried about her having, Josh is not worried about Iris having the identity because he's created it. He's created an identity that he wants. I think that it's super poignant that her name is Iris, because he tells us that he's a nice guy. He says it a couple of times, that I'm a nice guy. I'm a good guy. But we get to learn the truth about his character through the eyes of Iris.
Yeah.
And when the robots lose consciousness, when they go to sleep, their eyes roll back in their head and they completely lose any form of what looks like a normal human eye. And I think that that's very intentional to show us that, like, there's just a loss of agency, and eye contact within a relationship is so important. In Together, you see their lack of intimacy from the way that they can't even meet each other's gaze
Yeah. Yeah.
until they can't help but meet each other's gaze. And I don't know if it's because, like, do they overcome their fear of codependency? Do they overcome their lack of intimacy? Do they stop, like, protecting their separate identities and not lose one or the other, but merge them into one? Like, it's just kind of embracing the unity of what the idea of, like, do you know the story of the androgenine? Like,
Just
I'm fairly certain that the church, the cult in the movie is based around this myth.
oh,
Sure.
okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
In Plato's Symposium, the myth of the androgenine is told by Aristophanes in the story. And have you heard of, like, the men and women, like your
Yeah.
soulmate? You used to share one body where you had 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 legs,
Yeah,
and you were essentially a ball.
That's
Yeah,
the
so
myth that he shares with her when he's talking about the concept as the conceit as a whole.
Exactly. Like, and it's from Plato.
Okay, yeah.
And so, like, the concept of a soulmate being your other half that Zeus has rent apart from you, and spending your life looking for that person and being drawn together to them in order to be unified once more in the true self that you were supposed to be.
Interesting. And I think
Dude,
there
here's
is
a
this.
question.
Oh, yeah, you go ahead. You, Nathan.
Oh, I was going to say, then this is purely a kind of didactic question, is did either of you on your first viewings of Together, was it a surprise that Jamie kind of has the identity he has?
For me, yes. Like, when that happened, I noted that he had an unusual look and checked myself on, like, don't make fun of people. I mean, not that I was making fun, but I was like, I noted
Sure.
that
Yeah.
I noted that he looked a bit odd, but I was like, oh, the actor probably just looks odd. And then, to discover, by the end, that it's like, oh no, there is an affectation on his face that is intentionally meant to be a bit, strange, uncanny to the eye. But no,
Yeah,
the first viewing,
there was an uncanny valley to him, and I was like, the same thing. I was like, well, that's his face. He can't help it. But
yeah.
The two of you, so judgy.
But I also like, he wore two wedding rings too, but I assumed it was because his partner died and he wore his partner's ring.
Yeah. I definitely want you thinking that for sure.
And
I do find it interesting. I do find it interesting that, and I appreciate the ways these are coming out in the conversation, but, like, in Companion, the fact that Iris isn't the only companion present in the film, again, spoiler alert here, but one, that's just a great turn. That's a great moment that, if you even knew a hint of Iris's identity going into the movie, that one, I would challenge someone to say, who said, oh, I saw that coming. It's just a great, well-delivered turn, but it gets back to, and, some big sort of, I guess you call them theological words here, but, like, complementarianism, egalitarianism, these ideas of a partner being less than or primarily being existing for the needs and wants of the other in some sort of ordained structure, supposedly, and egalitarianism traditionally being more interpreted as, an equality, not inequality. And it's fascinating when you look at Companion, how it reinforces this superstructure of that complementarianism, which is they are meant to meet your need, and that is what they exist to do. And it's just interesting that the movie plays in that sandbox so
I thought it
deliberately.
was, yeah, deliberate and fully intentional. Like
Yeah.
the note that I wrote down for both of them is that their origins of the couple and soulmate story, but turned on their head, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Iris meets the meet cute between Iris and Josh is in the grocery store in the fruit aisle, right?
The garden.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, look at that. I get it now.
Yeah, and I think that the it's difficult too, because part of the idea of complementarianism specifically is that there is meant to be this, I'd heard that Matthew Henry quote cited in several Southern weddings. It's like the go-to preacher, line to point out about the, in the biblical narrative that Eve was taken from Adam's rib, and meant to exposit a kind of beautiful co-partnering, like moving through life together again, cherishment kind of thing. But in complementarianism specifically, there is this subservient nature. Like, put another way, like somebody's got to win in that mode of thinking. So if there is a mutually combative sort of dispute, somebody wins. And complementarian theology always goes to, like, well, the guy wins. Doesn't matter if he's whatever, doesn't matter what perspective, doesn't matter if he's wrong, he wins. And
especially if you've programmed your partner to literally be the fulfillment of all of your needs. They are not created in the image of God. They are created by man in the image of man. They are subservient. Like, you've literally created a hierarchy of lesser than you.
Yeah, copy of a copy. Like, it's literally like, the deficient conceptually, which for any listeners who may be, kind of, I wonder how Reed feels. I utterly reject, in my own marriage and in my philosophy of it, I utterly reject that perspective. I have not found it to be a healthy paradigm. And I feel like what I embrace about the notion, what I was saying earlier about, I think what's ironic about it is I think that Tilly is the happier ending for Tim and Millie, which is really wild because it's horrific in the process. But there is no more, like, there is one way to look at it, to say, like, well, yeah, the body is a bit changed, but it's still ostensibly Millie, just with flavors of Tim spackled throughout her physical features now and everything. But it's ostensibly Millie. But the concept, the new alternative album coming out this fall. So basically, that what I saw in that ending is they choose to live their lives as one, like sharing thoughts, sharing feelings, sharing experiences. Like, it's the entirety of an enmesh, like no separation, no compartmentalization, like everything is one. Now,
well, because
I think
what happens when you don't accept that is you're a monster.
Right. And you wind up living in the cave as this deformity that can no longer die or thrive in any sort of meaningful existence. And I do feel like there is, the benefit of the horror genre is to point at the extreme so that we can unpack the extremities and get back to something that's a little bit healthier. And obviously, I think in a practical sense, no, I don't think it's healthy if someone, must do everything with their spouse, or like, okay, no, I actually cannot function as a human being in the world if my spouse is out having a dinner with her friends or something like that. Like, that is an unhealthy paradigm. But I definitely, and this is maybe getting myself into a little bit of trouble, I definitely find that a healthier thing than the purely utilitarian form of companion, where it's just like, well, no, they are purely there to meet my needs and service my needs, and that is the whole reason for their existence for the next 40, 50 years of their life. So
They're
it's just
different
interesting.
forms of abuse, if we're being honest.
That's true. Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's true. Because if you cannot, this is why I say for myself, like, it's about, Nathan, what you described, that like it's the wholeness of you as an individual, bringing drawing out the fullness of the person that you've chosen to spend your life with. Like, those are the, have you noticed that statistically speaking, I can't remember what NPR show that I heard this on, but I remember listening to a case study where they said, ironically, many marriages that began with infatuation and affection often soured over time, but a lot of time arranged marriages, which began with none of that, grew into a deep and abiding shared value, shared, this is how we do our lives. What began in arranged marriages as unromantic utility often blossomed into deep and meaningful connection. Whereas so many of the relationship, whereas the contrast is a lot of relationships that began with a kind of heavy infatuation, often those feelings drifted away and they had little left to hold on to.
Well, because I mean, I don't know this study or anything, but just hearing you reflect on it, like, because affection will disappoint, and greatly so. A fully formed you, which again, we're always all in process and progress. Yes, I understand that, but a fully conscious you, who recognizes you are responsible for you, being partnered with a fully conscious and responsible for themselves them, that sounds like a pretty healthy starting point. And you perhaps learn affection. Sure, is affection arguably even critical, if not definitely crucial? Yes. But in terms of, to your point, Reed, a starting point, that will disappoint you, and wildly so, if that is, what is chosen as bedrock.
Because the other thing that I sort of actively reject is that notion of, this could be taken a couple of different ways, so I'll try to be a bit careful, but the notion that the spouse, that the only intention of marriage is your individual happiness, and that being the end of it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I love what you pointed out there, Vera, that like there are many ways to devalue and to abuse the covenant of marriage, within the actual relationship. There are countless ways to abuse that promise. But I think in general, I think a lot of people, just when things get tough, difficult, sour, I think there can be a little bit in the current culture and climate, there can be a little bit of like, oh, well, if you're unhappy, well, then just, flit about and go do something else. And I think there's this tension. I'll be open about this, that in my family, I have had the opportunity to talk to a couple of people who have suffered divorces and then found someone in the aftermath of that they were then with for a tremendous amount of time. Like, then that was like, okay, well, I was with this very toxic and an abusive relationship that ended, and then I found this other one. And so I am not in the camp that's like, oh, nope, that's, that's it. You made the choice. So that's the end of it. But I do feel a kind of flippancy that often gets described when talking about marriages. Of course, I mean, I live in LA, so like you can do things so easily in California that it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, you can go to Vegas and get married and then you can dissolve it, in a few weeks. I remember, what is it? I'm going to really, really abuse the joke, but I think Chris Rock had done some stand-up comedian about the sanctity of marriage. And he's like, not when you've got like The Bachelor, and he made some, some kind of crass jokes that I'll leave to him for that special. But I think his point was valid, where it's like, well, when we devalue the idea in our own minds by any number of ways, either by viewing these people as purely utilitarian, viewing them as a way to your own individual happiness. I think there is something more substantive, and I would say more sacred about it, that ironically I feel like together points to a little bit more than I expected it to in my second viewing of it,
Well,
just
yeah,
in its ideas.
like marriage is hard, period. Like it is work.
Hmm.
To maintain a marriage. It's work to maintain a relationship, whether you're married or not.
Right.
And like people come with baggage to any relationship that they have, but especially to an intimate relationship. And the together goes into the baggage that Tim is carrying, which his lack of intimacy with with his partner is
Mhm.
resultant from was finding his mom, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the it's so much as you mentioned today, like relationship and the intimacy that is and vulnerability that is required for you to give and receive from not you but universal you,
Yeah.
um your partner, is it's easier to build a companion that doesn't
Mhm.
come with any of that,
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
but at the expense of the of de of dehumanizing the person that, or not person, but to to dehumanize the I would say entire gender that you have built this companion on, whether
Mhm.
male or female. Um,
Yeah.
we see in Companion the gay couple who, one of them is a robot, has a healthier relationship,
Hmm.
um, in that he knows, I can't remember his name, um,
Phil,
but he was very
There's
sweet.
maybe.
Eli
He,
and
Oh,
then Patrick. So Patrick is
Patrick.
Patrick
the
I knew it
is
was
the
the
a P
robot.
word.
robot, and then
Yeah,
and then Eli is
Patrick
his human.
Patrick knows, because they've been in a relationship for so long. Patrick knows that he's a robot and he's fine with it. He's
Yeah.
accepted that that's his origin story. Um, and there's a sweetness about how they interact with one another that's missing from Josh and Iris.
Right.
And I think that the like there's the way that people talk to Iris throughout the movie,
Yeah.
the way that they make decisions in front of them without regarding the fact that they even look human and could have an input because they aren't human, that they can shut them off at the drop of a hat if they don't want to hear what they have to say. Um, it's like the way that we treat those that look like us but aren't like
Mm.
us, I think really shows the heart of a person. And it's like, see, now we're getting into what Nathan was saying in the problem of AI, where it's like, is it doesn't solve the problem of predatory behavior to make yourself a companion. You're still a predator.
Mm.
Right. Yes.
Because
And that,
the object of your like predation is still human like.
sure. Yeah. And what's scary is as that accelerates in the real, it only further fuels the fire of what you're talking about, Vera, which is this largely in men. Because it's really funny, Vera, when you just started your talk here for a second, you said marriage is hard. And that's all I was thinking was like, when we talk about these big words like complementarianism, egalitarianism, basically what it boils down to is it's a lot easier to assume you're always the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like you will you succeed? That's a big question. But in terms of in your eyes, you'll never do wrong because you're always the one doing right.
Mm-hmm.
It is much harder. And why, Reed, you made a note. I think this is what you're alluding to about, kind of flippancy and I mean, divorce is rampant. And I, even to the anecdote you described, Reed, and others I've known over time, like divorce is also a reality of life. But it should not supplant automatically the understanding, comprehension, and willingness to acknowledge that healthy relationship is a challenging path, an eminently rewarding one, but a very challenging path to walk. And so it doesn't feel great in a what I would say egalitarian household when you know what? I don't like being told no. Okay.
Right.
I don't like being told no on anything. I remember one time I was with a buddy. This wasn't even in my marriage relationship. I was with a buddy one time. It wasn't Reed. And I wanted to go do this thing. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And I was like, what the hell? No, sir. No.
Your brain just broke.
Yeah, it did. I was like, that's what that feels like. I don't like it. Nobody likes being told no. Nobody likes not getting their every whim accommodated. But that is the work of healthy, especially long-lasting relationship. And I think what companion, its path, its lane, where these diverge is kind of uniquely in this particular area. But companion's lane is, I don't think it's right now trying to illustrate the perils of complementarianism. I don't think that's totally what it's after, but it is about like the slippery slope of always assuming you can never be wrong, especially in the creation of relationship, because is it even relationship if it's the facsimile of a thing that could never challenge you, right? And there are entire schools of theological and religious thought that undergird and give scaffolding to that, especially in a kind of male dominant, male centered sort of approach. And I don't know. I just think that's really fascinating. Whereas I think with Together, like, dadgummit, those folks they didn't know they needed some therapy, but they really needed some therapy. I do think what's impressive about Together is it does engender sympathy for both of them. Like I do appreciate that. They are scene to scene, quote unquote, one is the villain, one is the hero. Scene to scene, one's the antagonist, one's the protagonist, right? Like that is a pretty smart script that can, and I imagine some of that was input from, the two actors trying to illustrate a relationship that is real, right?
I think it's an excellent button point on the metaphor too, that like when they've both when they've both consumed the water, it hurts them to come together. It hurts them to give up the separate identities that they are both holding on to and want to keep. It hurts them. I'm not saying that relationships should hurt all the time, but there is a degree of, as Nathan said, like I don't like hearing no. I don't like disagreeing. I don't like arguing. But in healthy relationships, those conversations have to take place, and sometimes they hurt a little bit. Not intentionally hurtful or harmful, but because you are a human being with feelings, and being in a relationship with another human being that also have feelings, sometimes those feelings are going to hurt. And the way that they comfort one another when those things are happening, I think have the makings of developing healthier approaches to relationship. It sort of fosters them eventually coming into unity and peace with each other, one another, and becoming joined in the flesh, literally. And metaphorically.
So, two quick notes. Number one, I did have, I think you illustrated it wonderfully, Nathan. I did have in my notes that it is fascinating to me about Together that there is no villain. I mean, the situation is the oppression, is the horror, but there's no villain. Not even the guy. Even Jamie is not. Help. Exactly. Especially given that they surrender to it at the end. I don't think the story views Jamie as a villain. It's not this monstrous thing that has happened. That moment at the end, like, maybe we can talk about this for a second. I have a second point to make, but like that moment at the end where they put on the Spice Girls record, yes, visually horrific things are happening, But I don't see that as a tragic moment. I don't think the film sees that as a tragic moment. I think the film
It's
sees that as
it's when that happened that their Wi-Fi connects. It starts
oh,
working.
that's right. That's right. That's right. And so I think the perspective of the film is that this is a very good thing for them, that they were tormented before this happened for them. Now, we don't see anything of Tilly except for the hello they give to their parents when they arrive. But I do think that's the perspective of the film, is like, yeah, this is the culmination. The other point that I wanted to make about Vera, to your point about it hurting, I've long considered that I am a better human being for the times when I was challenged within my marriage and within a couple of really healthy friendships as well, but most predominantly through my marriage, when I was challenged to adjust my perspective, to see things differently, to be denied what I impulsively wanted in that moment for a better, healthier thing. And I hope that I have provided that for my wife as well, that there have been times where I've pushed, challenged in some ways that have caused a change of perspective, or like, again, that discomfort when, because I do view it as an aggressively unhealthy thing to just always get what you want. Like, I think that is not good for us as people. Like, we don't grow without restriction, without confinement, without some version of boundary and friction.
Yeah,
we
friction.
don't grow. And I do consider myself, as part of the maturation process. I sense, it's just a thought exercise, but I don't know if I would be as healthy and mature and think the way that I do about the world had I not had the privilege to marry my wife. So I do think that pain that comes from the tension and the conflict is for our betterment. Like all things, like we've talked about, like all things, that it can be an extreme. Like it's this little bit of healthy pressure, a little bit of healthy challenge. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable in the moment. But I do think, I don't want, some people may be listening to this that sincerely might be in a relationship that is deeply troubled, that is, very, very painful. Not, and I too bristle sometimes when I hear from sermons or from, marriage essays or marriage books or something like that, where somebody's just like, oh, you just push through the tension, just make it work, just whatever. It's like, okay, well, do take healthy stock and assess what's really happening, because as we've alluded
I think
to a couple of
it comes down to companion and what is the motivation of the heart, right? Like,
yes, yeah. What are you doing? Yes. What are you here for? And what is your end goal? The film doesn't believe him when Josh says, I'm a good guy. The film does not believe him. He is not a good guy. And something that I thought about,
I would argue there's a chance he doesn't believe him.
That's a good point. He's trying to convince himself, maybe, if he's got any substance behind that statement at all. I thought about that with the whole, do you experience pain? Let's test that theory. I'm not some, extremist about the, won't squash a spider, won't, rid my house of ants or something like that. But any creature that is alive, I bristle at the notion of causing them pain. Like, there are pests, little bugs and things that get in your house, and obviously I kill those things. That's why I say, like, I'm not an extremist in that view. But even so, the thought of a creature that can experience pain being caused pain by a thing for someone's sport or pleasure or glee really twists my spirit as like that's not a thing that should be. And that's the way that Jack views Iris in this thing, because that is the ultimate extension. When you view your partner, your spouse, your companion as purely utilitarian, is you will view whatever sadistic thing comes into your mind.
Yeah.
You will see it as acceptably moral for you to, do whatever you deem fit because you are in charge. And so naturally abuse is an understandable outgrowth of that. And I do think sometimes I point to There is a relationship in my life, a family member that is deeply meaningful to me. That's as much as I'll say about it, to not give hint as who it is. But they experienced a marriage earlier that, the person went to church, their spouse went to church, said all the right things, did all the right things, and came home and was, aggressively vile to them and abusive to them. And it was all hidden. It was all behind the scenes and things. And of course, the church paradigms at its baser natures would always reinforce that, because they would always say like, oh, well, the wives be subject to your husbands. And that's probably as far as they would extrapolate that scripture. They wouldn't unpack it. They might throw some lip service to, wives or husbands, submit to your wives for this, that, and the other, but they would very much yada yada that piece of it while focusing on the wives please submit portion. So I just wanted to take a breath before we leave. I don't know how close we are to leaving the conversation, but I didn't want to leave it unsaid that somebody might be listening to this and might be saying like, yeah, I'm in a deeply painful situation. And I do think that health must be assessed in that regard. But I do think, back to the flippancy note, I do think we run the risk of just being completely self-serving when we view the relationship ahead of us as something that's not going to challenge us and push us and cause us occasional tension for our betterment, ideally. Anyway, I hope that is all making sense.
To put a I guess not finer point, because you said it well, but like to reiterate what you've already said is that the challenge and difficulty within a relationship should be because your partner is trying to pull you up, not push you down.
Yes, absolutely. They're intended to elevate you and bring you into a fullness of realizing. I keep saying your best self, but that sounds very like new agey when I say it that way. But I really do. Like, I think I am at my best when I am able to support my wife feeling at her best. That's when I feel like, as a husband, that's when I'm at my best. In fairness, I feel that way about every relationship in my life. I feel like I am at my best as a father when my son feels at his best, and I feel like I'm at my best as a friend when my friends feel at their best. But I do think marriage is uniquely this crucible that sort of highlights those things. There's no hiding from it. Like, you are who you are. Like, you will be seen in the fullness of all of your flaws, all of your virtues, and ideally, when it's at its best, like the best continues to be brought out in you, and you continue to grow and become a better and more whole person the deeper into that relationship you go, ideally.
I don't shine if you don't shine. That's what I say.
Amen.
Let's do some few kind of lightning round stuff, because both of these movies have a lot of just bits and bobs to them, before we get into full That Ain't Right, if we feel like our themes are well stated at this point. But feel free
to good.
Tag a little more there. I will say, of Companion, this is a bit of a lightning round note, which is this movie is a great exercise in expectations. I watched this with Penny and told her nothing, and didn't show her a trailer, and she was decisively surprised at the two major turns, Iris and Patrick. And so I kind of hate that the marketing kind of killed it, because I mean, it's, to my memory, I haven't watched a trailer for it in months and months, but to my memory, Iris is not fully, kind of a biological human from the trailer. But I just think that it's such a great exercise in kind of viewer expectation and what you know or don't know going in.
Yeah, agreed. I said to both of you that I hadn't watched a trailer. I didn't know, and I didn't get the hint that was in the poster. And I was like irritated for the first little while until she first goes to sleep, where I was like, there's no way she goes and has a shower and her eyeliner is perfect and she still has a perfect lip. There is no way. And then Kat is talking to her on the couch, and she's like, the way she's talking to her makes it seem like she's some sort of escort. And I was like, oh my gosh, why is she talking to her like that? She's so nasty. And I realized it's because she doesn't consider her to be human after the fact. But the whole, I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I was like, what is happening? Why? Like, there's no way that this movie is this badly made. And it was just because I didn't know the twist.
That's funny.
I do like
everything fell into place.
Exactly. I do like there's a Star Trek episode, one of my favorite among the Star Trek The Next Generation series, called The Measure of a Man, where there is
it's the best episode.
It is so wonderful. Where basically the character of Data goes on trial to determine whether he deserves the same legal protections as a individual autonomous human being, even though he is an android. It is a powerful, brilliantly written episode. If you've never seen it, go for that. Bringing it back to Companion, a didactic thing is I love when Iris is playing around with like, wait a minute, 40% intelligence. What happens if I do this? And just that shot where it's like, where she turns it up to 100. Oh man, it's like the world comes alive for her and everything. I love so much of that. I love that the narrative choice in the film leaves her with full self-determination, full autonomy, which I think is just a wonderful note in general. I loved the way that it played with my expectations. Like, I did go into the film, in fairness, my very first viewing, I can't remember how I learned, but I already knew she was a robot. That is the only thing about the plot that I knew going in, but I already knew she was a robot. So I was relieved when it was only like 22 minutes when they revealed that, rather than saving it for like the last act. But then the film continued to serve up twist after twist for me.
Did either of you suspect Patrick?
I didn't.
Not in the first
Not in the first
one. No.
Mm-mm.
I do like, and we've maybe accidentally done this. Let's check some boxes with Companion, then we'll toggle over to Together. But what was I going to say? I do love some of the little bits, and I want to shout out Penny here, who will often call things between the two of us. And in the second instance, Vera, have you watched the movie twice yet? Companion?
No.
Okay. No, the movie Companion. Have you seen it more than once?
Oh, no.
Sorry.
She's like, what's this film called Twice?
Yeah. You know, Twice. You gotta watch it more than once.
Homework you guys didn't tell me.
Who's on first?
No. Have you seen Companion once or twice yet?
I just saw it once.
When you rewatch it, knowing Iris is who she is, the script is littered with tells in that first 20 minutes.
Right. Like I said, I was very confused until it was like, oh.
Well, and so that was the thing I'd almost forgotten. But Chekhov's wine opener in this movie, Penny, the second time the wine opener shows up, Penny said, "Who is she going to kill with that?"
Wow.
Girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she called
great.
it. So that, and then I want to shout out, I love, he's so good at being just a dick, but I love Jack Quaid in The Fake Memory of the Dancing Dinosaur. It's so funny. He's so committed to that. Funny. So funny.
Yeah. He's really good.
There's one like throwaway line when, I forgot his name again. Ethan?
Eli. Yep.
Thank you. When Eli is like, "Are you guys sleeping together?" to Josh and Kat, and she says, "Ew," he says no, and she says, "Ew, gross," and he's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, it's so funny. He turns to her and he goes, "Gross."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah, honestly, I will say, like, probably my last didactic note on Companion pre That Ain't Right is just like, I still really appreciated the way it's scripted and paced. I think it is excellently plotted, and I think it's excellently structured for myself. Like, I do think there's a stronger energy if you don't know anything that first viewing, because then you're just like, what? And they're just like, the hits keep coming. But I still find it to be wonderfully structured, even upon repeats.
I did love, this feels a bit like Ken playing Matchbox 20, all the Kens in Barbie. But I love when the company shows up with the Iris bot and Josh is listening to Goo Goo Dolls Like it's
Yeah.
such a
Oh yes.
very specific, well-timed, obvious needle drop that I just really loved. Okay, let's at least give some lip service to lightning round stuff for together. Try to avoid That Ain't Rights for now, though the list is long. But any real specifics we want to highlight from lightning round style for together?
I just really appreciate how I feel like this movie is so intentional in a lot of different ways. And did you know that the type of saw that Millie uses to cut their arms apart is a reciprocating saw?
Whoa.
As in it goes,
Whoa.
so you push and pull back and forth. Yeah.
I did not know that. That is fantastic.
It just felt like a really intentional choice.
I know all power tools, so that wasn't a surprise to me. But I am thankful that you educated Reed and the listeners.
Indeed.
I
will, because it's not, I just have to slow clap these performances. Look, there's no real duds among either of these films in terms of performance, but Dave Franco and Alison Brie hit it out of the park for me. I thought they did. Yeah. Yes. It is aided by the fact that they are actually married. So there is a lot of, just authenticity to what you're witnessing in general. But still, I thought their performances, they never told me it's all show, like in terms of like they really embodied the emotionality. I've always liked him when I've seen him in smaller roles and everything, but I was really impressed with Dave Franco here. I thought there were so many choices that he could have overplayed his hand in a few ways, and I never really felt that. The performances kept me captivated. So I just had to slow clap in way. I mean, I appreciate the performances in Companion. We've shown some love to Jack Quaid and even a little to Sophie Thatcher and the rest of that cast. But yeah, Dave Franco and Alison Brie really hit this out of the park for me. I thought they were exceptional performances in this. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out.
Just the physicality of their performance too, like being like magnetized together and how they contort when that's happening and show physical tension when trying to resist was really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vera, you just wandered up to what I would have identified here, which is just the choreography. I mean, like the setups, a few of the smaller ones, which would be Franco in the shower and how that's shot and how he moves in there. Also the Alison Brie at the glass door when he's at the computer is just really horrifying. But so those I would call the smaller ones, which are in themselves pretty horrific. But the two bigger ones that were just so impressive visually on screen were the hallway, of course, which has in it just a great throwaway line when she says something about she names the drug and he says it's called diazepam now. Just this throwaway line in the middle of this horror. So I loved the choreography there, and then the choreography in the front of the house when they're finally, kind of near their final embrace. This is just visually incredible.
Yeah. Yes, anding you there, Nathan, in a really silly, ridiculous way. And I know it's not going to actually get nominated, but when we vote on films at the end of the year, I nominated Together for Best Stunts for exactly what you just described. Like, because I'm like, you think of the big action spectacles, and rightfully so for big stunts, but I'm like, they fell through this, the stunt performers fell through a cave opening and like hit the ground and everything. And then they, all of that stuff in the bathroom that you identified, the hallway scene. I'm like, yeah, there's some, they had to have some intentional choreographing of those sequences to look the way that they looked. So I was very impressed by what you identified there, Nathan. Yes. Yes. And
that's awesome. Let's do That Ain't Right, and we'll start with Companion and then go into this other film. I'm having to toggle a lot of things in my head right now. But, lest we forget, we are a horror show. So if it's gory, if it's gross, if it causes you a fright, what scares you about this movie? What makes you say, that ain't right?
All right, Nathan.
First time hearing that this year.
That's right. This is the first 2026. So That ain't right. So I'll moderate, Nathan, to save your voice a little bit. So Vera, why don't you start with Companion and give us, and we'll do all of our ones for companion, and then we'll move to together. But what is your that ain't right?
There's not a lot.
Right.
So I'm taking the big one, which is Josh go to sleep.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
And he called it corkscrew through the head.
That's great.
I mean, they commit to that moment too. It's so nasty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Nathan, what say you?
Entitled Boys is what I wrote from That Ain't Right. You know, it's just kind of what I felt watching it.
Gross,
mirroring yours. I just had Josh's choices. That's just all I put on there. It was just like Josh's choices.
Yep.
I will throw some. So thank you for taking a big, and then all of it, for taking a big sweep off the table for just entitled boys, which, Josh, Eli, Sergey, all of them. So I will pivot to the other rather gruesome moment, which is the fate of the cop, where he's just gets bludgeoned in the face and his skull crushed in by Patrick when Patrick is on his Terminator rampage. So, but the fate of that cop, I was like, oh boy,
sweet baby face Terminator.
Yes.
You remind me, Reed, by bringing that up, of two notes that are at least worth throwing in here, because we won't talk about this movie really again. But one, I love the choice in the movie when Iris willfully changes her language, her default language,
she can't lie.
to evade the cop. Yeah. It was great. Just great little character moment. And two, from a staging moment, love when she comes in the frame having killed Sergey. Like just that shot where she's on the left-hand side of the frame and her bloodied hand is holding the bloodied knife, and the rest of the crew is like just chatting in the background. It was just a really well rendered shot that I appreciated.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so is that it for That Ain't Right for companion? It's not as
I feel like we got to pull double duty each on this one.
We need to do 2 rounds of together. There's too many in together, so we have to pull double duty. So we will go 2 rounds each. We'll do it rather quickly, but Vera, I will give you the prerogative again. Go ahead and take your uppermost That Ain't Right from together off the table.
The bathroom scene.
I thought, I was like, this is good. We're starting the year with Vera. We've come a long way from avoiding hot tension because of its egregious sexual grossness. Yeah. And then here we have it, right here.
I have 2 things to say about it.
Say them.
Number 1 is I don't think Nathan will have seen this movie, but Reed, have you seen the movie Teeth?
Yes. Yes, the one where her Yes. I'll just stop there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's not. Please never cover it on the Fear of God, and if you do, please don't ask me to be on that conversation.
No problem.
No problem.
No, it's fine. Like Nathan said, we're past that. It's fine. But it's not a great movie. When I was working at Rogers, which was the Canadian equivalent of Blockbuster, though we did have Blockbuster, somebody dared me to rent Teeth, and I watched it. It's about a girl who has teeth in her nethers.
And
Actual, yeah.
Anyway, when
the film exploits it.
Sure. Yes. I mean, you don't build that concept and not exploit it, but sure, go ahead.
Yes, and so when the prosthetic that Tim was wearing gets a little bit stretchy, it reminded me of Teeth. Number 1.
Okay, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is what I told you guys. I sent this to you guys in a text message, but I'm going to say it now for the podcast. This is before any of the Spice Girl stuff got brought up in the movie. This is before she sits down with Jamie and she talks about Tim buying her the Spice album. I said when they were stuck together in the most intimate of positions, I said this is not what the Spice Girls meant when they said to become one. I wrote that down in my phone. It said teeth, and then it said that, and then at the end of the movie, when they take the record and put it on the record player and start playing the song, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
It's so great,
so happy.
I love that you started and you just took this one right off the table, but I've got to shout out because now none are as good as this, but I did start to give a few of these scenes names. Okay, so just buckle up, because this scene in my notes, I'm staring at it right now. I've got 3 different titles for this scene. The first one is fine, but I ultimately wasn't happy with it because of where I went. First was Stuck in the Stall. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like, it's cute. It's pithy. Alliteration. Nathan likes alliteration. Then kind of like that, like a bolt of lightning, I wrote down Poking in the Boys' Room,
Wow.
Just kind of, Reed. Number 3 on this list to name this scene is Stretch Arm Dong.
Man. No.
I'm
yes, Happy New Year's. Yeah.
Man said Stretch Arm Dong. Oh my God. Welcome to 2026, everybody. Oh my gosh.
Well, the second she talked about the stretchy prosthetic, I was like, I got to do it. You just,
man. Oh man. Well, okay. So
look like a Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Yes. Now you can't unsee it. Thank you, Nathan, because now you can't unsee it.
At least it's got a good name now.
Why do I scrub my brain?
Man, we're gonna do a second round of this too. So, okay, Nathan, hit us. That ain't right for together.
That out of the way. I think. There's so much. I think next on my list would be Hairball, which is just Tim scarfing her hair in the night.
Oh my gosh,
repulsive. I mean, it's so a number of these. Not think about the bathroom when I say this. A number of these scares, just how they, not just the body horror stuff, Reed, like you identified the enmeshing arm stuff towards the end, but like that, like I don't know how you did that. I don't want to know. Actually, I don't think I want to know. But it appears to be all practical, or at least mostly practical in these moments, and it's just so gross. So Hairball would be behind Poking in the Boys' Room would be my number 2.
Poking in the Boys' Room. For me, because I feel like yes. So this is less like body horror and more just sort of nightmare fuel, but his early nightmare of the beds merging together and then his mom's face like emerging through the covers. Oh my gosh, that they threw terrifying. The gauntlet down. Yeah, I was like, okay. So the first time I watched that movie, I was like, okay, man, that wasn't even what I know. Ostensibly from the premise is coming, and that was really So that whole early nightmare scene, just the entire vision of his mom in general. They call back to it later, but not as effective as that.
The way that his mom looked in that scene too is so eerie, like just the like a moony kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it was
like a moonlit face. That's very much so. And it's like she's wearing this eyeliner that's running, and it's just it's or eyeshadow, whatever that is. I mean, it's really, really unsettling. So that's my first one is the nightmare of the tearful
mom. To find
mom.
out where Iris got her tattoo eyeliner from.
Yeah, exactly. Do they sell that? Okay, so Vera, what would be, of what's not already been named, what would be next on your list?
When Tim and Millie are merging into Tilly, the process of them merging, and when their eyelashes start to become,
I squirmed.
A unilash. I don't know.
Oh no! You've heard of a unibrow? Hold my beer. It is. That is.
And that's.
I thought about, especially the second time through, how horrific that must have been for them. Like something encroaching upon your eye, and like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, good Lord. Like it's one thing. It's like, okay, I know it's like your arms are joining and everything, but just like coming closer to your eye, just Anyway, yes, definitely agreed. Nathan, what's your second?
I think. Dang.
Lost the momentum. Sorry.
No, ma'am. Getting it back. Revving up. So I guess that if I had to pick a second one, like it's so grisly on screen, but it doesn't feel like it has as much story impact, but I'll go ahead and name it because it is so nasty, and it's the monster in the cave. It's the campers.
Yeah, the lost hikers.
The melded campers.
Yeah. In a different film, that would have been the big one. Like in another film, that's the kind of thing that would be like, oh yeah, there's this hybrid monster in a cave. But in this one, yeah, it's like fifth place.
Yeah.
So,
like, who are these people again?
Right. Okay, I have to. So we've name dropped most of the big ones. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to decide between two others that I want to mention. I will just passively point to, when they have to saw their arms apart, but also my official second that ain't right is the dogs. The dogs, like the opening shot with the dogs. Oh Lord. So yeah, it's brief.
Dog dare you.
Style, even for canines.
Yes. Oh my God. So yeah, the dogs. That's what is that line where one of the kids is like, "Oh, are those your dogs?" Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Or something like that. Can I give an honorable mention to Tilly?
Oh, yes.
Uncanny Valley. Like the way that they did that, it's not CGI, it's a digital composite of their faces.
Wow.
Which is super impressive, but so uncanny valley. Like,
oh yes.
I wish there was like a short of the parents' perspective seeing Tilly for the first time, because
right.
What do you even say or do?
They just get back in the car and leave. They're like, nope, that was it. That's done. Yeah, it's really wild because it very much is. Oh, there's a hybrid day. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, what would happen if this person and this person had a baby? And it's like, oh yeah, this is if Dave Franco and Allison Brie had an adult baby. This is Tilly right here. Wow. It's just their faces merged together.
This is coming to me in real time because I do think, Vera, your note is, I thought about it earlier too with like the parents' reaction. It would have almost been interesting if Tilly had either presented them with at that moment, or there was a 30 seconds of them coming in and them being offered water.
Yeah.
Like, is that,
continuing.
Interesting button. Nonetheless. Okay. Well, did you squirm? Did you wince a little bit? Did you squint your eyes real tight, especially in that bathroom stall? It's probably because of we around here, Cole. That ain't right.
Look, Reed's doing it right now.
Man said stretch arm dong. Like,
That's how we started 2026.
Man. Yeah, that's what we have to do. Leaky Boy is still going to get lots of, props, like Leaky Boy from Evil Lurks.
Yeah, Leaky Boy and Stretch Arm Dong just hanging out.
That's right. What was the one from this past year? What was the like? We have a collection. It's the Fear of God toy line.
Vera, I don't think I've ever heard you snort, Vera, quite so openly.
I forget what the one was, but there was one earlier this year from maybe The Substance.
It's not hanging out. It's stuck.
That
oh my God.
is great.
Oh.
That is great. Okay. All right, we must close this down. So we have reached the point for the first time in 2026. Many more will come where we must close this conversation down. This has been a whole lot of fun. Thank you both for joining me in this. I'm glad we could have this conversation together. Yes. So it is now time to rate these films, as we do all the media that we cover, on our unique metric of the FoG meter. Now, the FoG meter is our specific metric per the title of the show, by which we gauge not necessarily the quality of these films, but their gravity, what they ask of you as the viewer. And we do that with two specific metrics, fear and God. Fear doesn't necessarily have to mean how scary the thing is. It can be disturbing, grotesque, unsettling. It can be scary. And then God doesn't necessarily have to mean how spiritual the thing is. It's more about perspective. It's about what this film has on its mind and how effectively it conveys that thing. So Vera, I will give you the opportunity. Let's do these films separately. I know we'll do them quite quickly, but let's do the FoG meters separately to avoid confusion. Give me both your fear and God for companion.
Okay. For companion, I'm going to give the fear a 3. It's not scary. There's yeah, there's some blood, but it's not scary. And for God, I'm going to give it a 6. I think
Okay.
there's stuff on its mind, a lot about AI, a lot about relationships, but I feel like there's other media that have done it more successfully, like Ex Machina or even like Battlestar Galactica, I think have those same conversations. But it's a fun movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Nathan, fear and God for companion.
Yeah, I think that it's more fun than fearful. And you know, even it's kind of what might be its more harrowing moments aren't like super. I mean, the last kind of 20 minutes or so is pretty kind of gets it some extra points. So I will go. I'll go one deviation on both of Vera's, and I'll do a 4 on fear and a 5 on God.
Okay.
I think most of what it has to say is pretty right there.
Yeah, I understood. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much right where you guys are. I'm going to join Nathan with his 4 for fear. It is not, like I even said at the very beginning, it's a little bit more in the thriller camp than horror. I definitely wouldn't balk if someone called it horror, but I think it's a little bit more in the thriller territory. But I'm going to join Vera on the 6 for the God meter, because I do feel like I was surprised to find that it didn't explore the depths that I remembered it doing so. I think most of what it has on its mind is baked into the premise itself, and then the situational aspects sort of explore what it's trying to say, as opposed to really a substance of the script or the dialogue. But I do think it's excellently plotted. So that means that we give Companion, which again was written and directed. Oh, I found out that when I was looking at the credits that Zach Kreger was actually a producer on this film. But it was, I didn't know that until literally the second viewing, but written and directed by Drew Hancock. So that means that we give it a 5 out of 10 on the FoG meter. It's pretty, it's pretty fair for companion. But now let's do Together. So Vera, I'm coming back to you. What is your fear and God for Together?
Together, I think I'm going to give it an 8 for both. I think it's pretty gruesome in parts. The body horror is great. It's the practical effects. You know how much I love those. And I think it has a lot on its mind. And while some of it may be like super face value, I don't care.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that, Nathan. Fear and God for Together.
Yeah, my impulse is to join Vera on the 8 for fear. I mean, I think if this isn't even like entry level body horror, this is like, competent and well delivered, well executed body horror here. So, full marks for that. And then on the God, I still, for me personally, feel like it doesn't quite rise above. It's deeper for me. It's deeper than Companion, still not like super deep. So I'm going to give, I'll give it a 6.5 for the God.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for that. So for me, I think I'm sitting at about a 7 for the horror here. I think its gruesomeness and its grotesqueness, I agreed. Like, I like the way you phrased it. This isn't entry level. This is actually expertly executed body horror scenarios. And I think it comfortably sits on the same shelf as things like The Fly and The Thing and The Substance. And while those films may be a little bit more bombastic and showing in some of their presentation, and Together is a little bit more intimate, deliberately so in a number of ways. I still think, yeah, it's every bit that. So I'm going to give it a 7 for The Fear. Man, I'm kind of torn about the God, because I really responded quite strongly to its script. I think the premise is an on-the-nose metaphor. And I think that because the premise is so on the nose, I think it is easy to dismiss a remarkable amount of substance in the interiority of it. I think there is quite a few little observations. I wrote down one thing that didn't come up that I'll name drop here. It is a powerful line that could be unpacked in its own little 30 or 40-minute conversation, where she says, you know, I can't make every choice for you. I'm not your mother. And he says, what's that supposed to mean? And she retorts, like I'm living with something that's dead. I was like, that is in the depths of the burn, issues. Bro. Yeah. And of the things that have been, you know, alluded to in this film and that are pointing to the actual problems they have. So it is a line like that I point to say, yeah, if the metaphor is on the nose, but the script in itself is a lot more substantive. So you know what, I'm gonna be generous, and I'm gonna do halvesies as well. I'm gonna go 8.5 for my God meter. So that means that we give together an 8 out of 10. It's actually more like 7.6, but we're gonna, you know, round that up. So
we're gonna merge it with an 8.
We're gonna merge it with an 8. So so that is an 8 out of 10 on the FoG meter for Together, written and directed by Michael Shanks. And I think and this, we can blend the two together. After this conversation, Vera, coming back to you, where are you at on Companion and Together? Go ahead and share your thoughts on either film.
I will revisit both of them for sure. I think that the barrier for entry for Companion, like in terms of horror, is much lower. And so that's a movie that I can share with other people who are less in the horror sphere. But to the well-seasoned horror fan, I 100% recommend Together. I really liked the experience of that movie.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Nathan, after this conversation, where are you on Companion and Together?
I am a fan of both. Like I said at the top of things, I still don't know that I would put them at the top of my list. I haven't formally made a list, but, you know, they aren't quite up there. But in terms of just watchability, in terms of, this sounds like a backhanded compliment. I don't mean it. In terms of competency, they both are very watchable from the standpoint of just like, yeah, these are worthwhile entries in the canon. And depending on your mood is going to depend on which one you're more interested in popping on. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I also am a very, very big fan of both. I think Companion is more fun to watch. I think Together, as I said earlier in this conversation, is what I go to when I am interested in something more contemplative and more thoughtful, but both are so exceptionally well constructed. They're very different types of films, but I liked that we had this conversation about them as one, because I feel like they are interested in the complexities of relationships. And I think it's a fantastic double feature to be able to watch these two either, you know, in quick succession or even in the same night if you so choose, because I do feel like they're both very, very well constructed. I think I would, like, if I had to put my weight behind a stronger recommendation, I would more highly recommend Together for our audience, for the show's audience. Though I think Companion is incredible fun. So if you're like, I don't want to watch anything heavy and I don't want to watch anything that's like, you know, going to make me contemplate my life, then I'm like, okay, well then pivot to Companion. You will have a really good time. I really do think so. Yeah, they're both very, very good. So yeah, thank you both for being game for a double feature right out the gate. We don't normally do that at all, let alone start the year off with it. So thank you very, very much, Vera. It's always a pleasure. I will be. Yeah, of course. I will be eagerly awaiting the next Ghoul Scouts iteration when that comes up. Nathan, thank you as always. Listeners, thank you as always. And as we say on every episode, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, but not the end of the conversation. In that spirit, we encourage you to fear nothing else and be on your way rejoicing. We do know next week's look back conversation, and I know it's probably something that people have been waiting to hear our thoughts about. It's one of the most acclaimed and talked about horror films of last year. Next week, we are going to be gathering a crew together to talk about Weapons. That is Zach Kreger's follow-up to Barbarian, which was a film we covered last year. So yeah, we are going to be talking about weapons, and we hope to see you all there. Thank you so much again.
And stay out of the bathroom stalls, everybody.
That's just